minutes and 40 seconds of opening credits that do nothing for nobody. Also, to be fair, these credits really did try to warn us that we should be flying the f*** away from this movie as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, hiring Richard Pryor didn't do much for us in the last film, so... let's hire Ducky! And thus, distaste for the karaoke version of My Way begins, leading to a butterfly effect of murders in the Philippines. Luckily, Superman flies in from, Alpha Centauri to save these Russian astronauts. Also, due to serious budget cuts from Canon Films, the tagline for the sequel was rumored to be, "You will not believe a man could fly."
Listen carefully, my son.
We sure as aren't gonna pay for Marlon Brando again, so let's pretend I recorded a message for you before we sent you to Earth.
Placed aboard this vessel is an energy module.
It almost certainly would have come in handy during Superman 2, but I know you'll forget it, even though I only really know you as an infant and have no idea how you'll be as an adult, and I definitely don't know what Superman 2 is. Also, why is Clark just now getting this message from his mother? It's been many years since he landed on Earth, and based on the beginning of this message...
By now, Kal-El, you are entering the atmosphere of the planet known as Earth.
All this should have already been relayed. Also, why does the energy module look like kryptonite? I feel like Clark would have a strong aversion to anything green and glowing at this point.
Once removed, the ship will grow cold and silent, and you will be finally alone.
Completely alone, as long as you ignore the giant ice palace inhabited by all those knowing holograms inside the exposition crystals.
Yeah, well, didn't I mention there's an offer to buy sight unseen?
I'm glad they included this hot real estate action in this Superman movie. How the f*** does a flight risk like Lex Luthor, who escaped prison in Superman 2, get some sort of outside work detail while serving time?
A true genius like myself learns to seize the moment. You're the first to know that I now have plans to recreate life itself.
I guess crazy casting news in 1987 got monopolized with Michael Caine starring in Jaws: The Revenge, but Gene Hackman agreeing to do this movie I find even more perplexing. Lucky for Canon Films, John Cryer had filmed Hiding Out right before this, and they didn't even have to give him new hair. Must have saved at least a couple bucks there. So the plan was, get the prison guards interested in his car stereo system, have them enter the car, and then use this gadget to trap them inside before throwing them off a cliff? And that worked? Also, this Barney Fife duo survives this.
I do okay or what, Uncle Wax?
Replacing the Ned Beatty character with Lenny because I guess the studio thought the kids needed a weird caricature that in no way resembles 1980s teenagers.
Your Uncle Lex has had nothing on his awesome mind since he's been incarcerated except one thing.
Destroy Superman!
So was his plan to make Superman 4 The Quest for Peace when he escaped prison? Because that destroyed Superman, at least for a while. Lois is learning French, and it will almost certainly factor into the plot and not be a total waste of our time. Also, Margot Kidder was punished for asking for more money by getting barely any screen time in Superman 3, and was then punished even more severely by getting more screen time in Superman 4 The Quest for Peace. What exactly happens here where Lois would notice something is wrong with the subway train and no one else on board does? Also, it wouldn't be a Superman movie if the filmmakers didn't just randomly put Lois Lane in danger while Clark just so happens to be nearby. Also, it's almost quaint to watch Clark jump into a phone booth to change at this point, considering we've seen him magically transform into his suit out in the open in other chapters. Like this asshole needed to step on the third rail to stop this train. Now you're just showing off, Superman. Go f*** yourself.
He'll be all right. I think he needs a doctor.
Can't you just fly him to a doctor right now? Instead of hoping these mortals get him there in time?
I'd like all the people back there to know that our subway system is still the safest and most reliable means of public transportation.
You know, as long as I'm around to stop the train after the conductor has a heart attack. Also, this movie is preachier than all the lesson-learning tags from every 80s cartoon ever combined.
And because the summit has failed.
Holy sh**. Is the president speaking from a buddy's house in his Civil War reenactment room? The f*** is this place?
Now, I know you're all upset by the crisis.
What? These kids don't give a f*** about the crisis. Do you think these 6th graders are sitting around worried that countries are going to produce more nukes because of a failed summit?
Jeremy.
I'd like you to speak in class today. And that's how a surefire hit was born 4 years later.
I tell you, I'd write a letter too that would do some good.
These kids being overly serious about the nuclear arms race is almost as hilarious as Steven Seagal ranting about oil pollution at the end of On Deadly Ground. Security guards take a mysterious smoke break during this out-in-the-open heist. It goes to show how little this movie has to offer, that it spends a great bulk of the runtime devoting scenes to Mariel Hemingway trying to wet Clark's dock.
This time he's gone too far. Look, Clark.
If the movie's message about the media is big money people running newspapers is bad, then why does it take until this untruthful article is published for Clark to do anything about the nuclear arms crisis? Also, this movie is making a big deal about nuclear weapons, but they're making it sound like it's the Cuban Missile Crisis, as if one wrong sneeze is going to cause a nuclear war or the danger is imminent. Maybe that's what the movie is saying, but couldn't we have an actual explanation of these tensions, like the beginning of Crimson Tide?
No, I'm forbidden to interfere.
What exactly has that ever meant in these movies? Just by being Superman and doing what he does, he's been interfering since he saved Lois from that helicopter in the first movie. But I guess we're supposed to understand that it means, like, really, really big things? Where do you draw the line?
The Earth is too primitive.
I don't know if we send this in Superman 2, and I don't even think this shit is in the Donner cut, but whatever. This magical ghost council that can give Superman advice beyond the grave is such nonsense.
Betrayed.
This Krypton elder took acting lessons from the You're All Doomed guy in Friday the 13th.
I got a lot of thinking to do.
This is thinking that I could not do at the Fortress of Solitude. This required the hallowed halls of my apartment. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Clark, stop!
What? He betrayed the out of Lois in Superman 2 so she wouldn't remember that he was Superman, and then just decides in this movie, I can't figure out what to do about this nuclear arms thing. It, I'll just let Lois know I'm Superman again, and maybe that will help. And then he's just gonna give her the forget-it-all kiss again. What the is this movie? Jesus, his flying took them all the way to San Francisco? Not like Superman's flying all that fast. It's basically bird speed. It would have taken hours to get here. Now they're back in Metropolis, aka New York City, after what amounted to a stroll across the country. Now maybe San Francisco isn't all that far away in the DC Comics world, and maybe Action Comics number Go Yourself explains this, but goddamn.
Kal-El.
You remember, don't you?
I remember everything.
You what? The Superman 2 kiss made you forget last time, so did simply seeing Clark turn into Superman make you remember again? This sign says World Press and indicates they have to go upstairs for their seats. Doesn't that just cover all press? Why the word world?
Effective immediately, I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons.
All the bullshit. So you're telling me the countries of the world couldn't come to an agreement about getting rid of nuclear weapons, but because Superman says so, everyone's cool with it now? This is the most unbelievable part of this movie. A movie, I remind you, that has a main character who is an alien with superpowers and the ability to fly. I really wish we knew what was agreed on, and if Superman is just waiting for countries to fire nukes into space to illegally capture them, or if this is all sanctioned by the world leaders. The implementation of a SAC, as if Superman is Old Saint Nuke, suggests that the countries are firing them for him to catch. But nobody really knows. You don't know. The filmmakers don't know. This whole trial is out of order. Attica! Attica! Also, I hope this nuke net is built completely with Superman's hair, because all the world nuclear weapons will probably come off a little heavy. Also, with nuclear disarmament this easy, I'm officially taking Ozymandias off my Christmas list. Also ×3. How is it even remotely possible that Superman will be able to find every single nuclear weapon on the planet, and how would he prevent anyone from making more of them in the future? Will Superman just become a nuclear watchdog for the rest of his life? Is he going to ignore all the other horrible shit going on that needs his attention? Anyway, all I'm saying is disarming nuclear weapons can happen on the ground, and you don't need to throw them all into the sun. But I know that wouldn't look cool or anything. It's just unnecessary and stupid. Also, the sun is being very patient by not melting these nukes long before they crash into it.
I'll introduce him to his first nightmare, a nuclear man. He'll pierce his skin. He'll make him mortal.
Lex Luthor is somehow super confident he can create life using Superman's DNA, a random nuke that somehow didn't get destroyed with all the others, and the sun. But also, he's certain that his Lexenstein will be able to hurt Superman because reasons. This is bullshit overload so intense that I'm surprised Gene Hackman didn't retire after this movie instead of waiting for Welcome to Mooseport.
This protoplasm that I've grown from Superman's hair cells will duplicate creation itself.
This is basically the screenplay saying, I want this, and the movie cowing to a bully, because when the movie entered the room, it saw the dead bodies of logic and reason riddled with bullets next to the fireplace. The screenplay, drinking a brandy and swirling in his left hand, said, that's what I thought.
This ain't gonna cover him.
The computer inside will weave enough material to maintain the high moral standards.
This is actually hilarious dialogue, since it's clear that even the screenplay, which I remind you murdered logic and reason over this, isn't taking any of this seriously either. The problem is, just before this scene, the movie displayed cringe sincerity over nuclear weapons that makes me doubt it knows what a joke is.
You know what this means, Uncle Art?
What?
We're gonna be parents.
Petri dish incest. The problem with the movie showing me an oversized sack of nukes getting thrown into the sun is that I'm wondering what the this nuke is and why it wasn't part of the collection. Movie suggests any assholes wearing official-looking military garb can get onto a nuclear base, and that no one would ever recognize infamous criminal Lex Luthor walking around because he's wearing sunglasses.
27 sticks, inclement override. Fire on my command. Fire.
Honestly, the last 7 minutes of this movie have been this works, but it's about time for a this works synth. I mean, considering the fact that he waited to fill a sack full of weapons last time, this stray missile makes it seem like it's the only nuke left. And how convenient, considering Lex needed it for his plan. This CGI is such an abomination that I'm surprised the 2001 baby doesn't choke it out before it gets a chance to gestate. Behold, with these nuclear fingernails, I shall give Superman such a scratching. Also, with so many other villains from the comics that the movies had never used, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace decides to make up a new one? Couldn't we just get Brainiac? Hell, I would have even settled for Microwave Man. I don't understand why Clark has to be this bad at exercising to keep up the ruse. Also, exercising. Superman is a dick to dicks.
No pain, no gain?
Also, this continued character trait where Superman lashes out like an embarrassed child if he has to get shown up in front of others. This is the jackass at the diner in Superman 2 all over again and just as dumb. I am both intrigued and disturbed by whatever this nonsense is right here, and I don't like the conflicting emotions. What the game is this? Is this Kid Icarus? Because it looks like Kid Icarus. Anyway, you, Kid Icarus. You deserve a sin even if this isn't you. Also, Rob. I don't understand this. Is this Nuclear Man materializing in Lex's house? Why didn't he just do that instead of flying the 93 million miles from the sun?
You are nothing. I am the father now.
Nuclear Man is terrible at Captain Phillips quotes.
He gets his energy from the sun.
Without it, he's like you at night. Useless.
So wait, are you saying the miracle creation birthed by Superman's DNA and the sun needs to be plugged into the sun at all times? Why didn't you make it where he was always powerful, but just in case you could switch him off whenever you wanted using your computer? Oh, so you're saying that's stupid. Also, that is a seriously limiting superpower. What if Nuclear Man was needed to take care of something indoors or at f***ing night?
Be right back.
What's in it?
This Clark Kent Superman subterfuge is on for all the some time.
You shouldn't have gone to all that trouble.
So Superman quickly cooks the duck that's inside the oven using his heat ray that I guess is also an X-ray that somehow doesn't heat the walls or the outside of the oven.
How can one man be so square and so delicious?
That is the question I was really hoping Lacey could answer, because I do not understand anything about this contrived attraction she has towards Clark.
If I have to face Superman, so do you.
This elevator took off faster than any elevator that has ever elevated, and there's no way that the incredibly thirsty Lacey let that elevator go without Clark being on it. Seriously, how is it no one ever notices Clark making these quick changes out in public? This doorman was staring at him as he ran out of the apartment building.
The whole world is beautiful.
I read that 45 minutes of this movie were cut out after the full version tested horribly, and somehow this scene isn't a part of that 45 minutes. I know Superman is amazing, but where the f*** did he come from? Is there an open window into the hallway of this apartment building?
It's my own private frequency. You might call it Lex TV.
And no need to explain how I do it. Hopefully the audience will just be cool with the fact that I've become a wizard while in prison. The Karate Kid Part 2.
I'm sorry, Lois, but an emergency's come up. I'll have to go.
This excuse wasn't used way before this.
I want to be the first to introduce you to the new kid on the block.
Ooh, I hope it's Donnie. I mean, I'd be okay with Jordan, too. Really, just don't let it be Danny. Why the f*** is Nuclear Man just flying around Metropolis during this introduction? Why isn't he just at the apartment hiding behind a pillow fort? Yeah, Nuclear Man needs the power of the sun, but later in the movie, Lex simply opens the blinds to wake him up. So why not something similar here? Like a pillow fort?
I can only assume you must have hidden a device of some kind in one of those missiles I hurled into the sun.
Logically.
Your time in prison has twisted your mind into a delusionary state, Luthor.
Superman continues with this calm conversation with Lex Luthor instead of fighting the guy covered in lightning who just said,
Destroy Superman.
Nifty, huh?
how are his shoes burning the deck without burning the shoes themselves? And even if that's not a consideration, this is the first time we're seeing it. His shoes weren't burning Luthor's apartment earlier, and this floor burning bullshit never comes up again.
Destroy Superman. First, I have fun.
Since when did you want to have fun? You've been wanting to kill Superman since you got here. Nuclear Man, despite his evil intentions, is kind of a dick, isn't he? Tremendously exciting falling action complete with obvious green or blue screening. Tag. Oh no, Nuclear Man, you don't want to do that. You're going to let the nomads in. Oh yeah, this is totally possible. It's not like we didn't see Superman painstakingly fixing that oil tanker in the last movie without the magic from Bewitched that he's learned since then. We will never see Nuclear Man use this ice breath to encase Superman in ice for the rest of the picture, which is too bad because it actually does a pretty good job of containing him. So if I'm watching this correctly, Nuclear Man is flying towards a volcano, does a little spin move to go down in it, and then profits? Also, if the whole point of Nuclear Man is killing Superman, then why is he bothering with triggering a volcano in some random part of the world right now? And Superman will know exactly where Nuclear Man flew to because reasons. Standing on the side of a street as lava flows down it instead of trying to run or drive away, or at the very least going indoors. Superman will attempt to stop the volcano eruption by plugging it up with the top of another mountain, and he succeeds, even though basic science would teach you that all this will do is create more pressure within the volcano and could, and most likely would, cause the volcano to completely explode soon after and cause an even bigger issue for the town below. I'm glad Superman could save these 11 people and this goat, who apparently represent the entire population of the city that was just ravaged by lava. I don't understand how Superman knows that Nuclear Man is in space right now instead of somewhere else in the world creating havoc. Electric fingernails might be the dumbest thing I've seen in a superhero movie, but I do think it would be a great band name. This is just a singularly stupid action. I doubt Nuclear Man has any clue about the symbolism of the Statue of Liberty. Why not just pick up an entire building and throw it somewhere? Why not use the many powers you possess to create something more than just a mere diversion? I still have yet to understand why Nuclear Man's electric scratch would do anything to Superman. The series' established rule is that kryptonite is his weakness. Superman 4 just came up with a new thing without any reasoning for it other than Sunstrong. Superman conveniently being at the perfect angle to replace the Statue of Liberty successfully after being lightning scratched is convenient. Nuclear Man kicks Superman like a field goal and then I guess considers this a job well done. No reason to follow up on this and see if this actually defeated him or anything.
Where'd this come from?
Oh, that somebody brought it in. We bought it cheap.
Someone doesn't know how to sell memorabilia correctly if they're selling a supposedly dead Superman's cape for cheap to a local newspaper. Ooh, I love this part. This is where Bob Hoskins tries to break into Pink's apartment during the comfortably numb scene.
But I knew you were here, you know?
You knew Clark was at his apartment? That's not impressive.
That I will always cherish the time we spent together.
Skip! This is a ton of cash, but I don't see any of the containers or wheelbarrows that these three men could have brought it in with. Lex must have created a device that sends physical cash from banks to his Scarface table and the movie simply didn't show it. I guess it's super lucky that Clark recovered his magical power-up crystal that definitely didn't exist before this movie mere days before he actually needed it.
After it is gone, you will belong solely to your new home.
That's a weird thing to say. Not like he could ever go back to Krypton. And the idea that he could never go to some other world just because he used the last of Krypton's energy is nonsensical.
If our dying planet can save your life, my son, we have not died in vain.
This message sounds like Lara knew he was going to use this to regain his powers, but she said nothing of the sort when he grabbed it from his old spaceship earlier. It's like Lara's ghost is Obi-Wan Kenobi, but only if Obi-Wan mysteriously checked out for 3 movies and then randomly showed up when Luke got the sniffles. Using the British spelling of favorite in a US newspaper. Also the British. Also, why is Lacey's promotion front page news? Does Warfield think there is anyone who gives 2 shits about who the publisher of a newspaper is?
Where is the woman?
The f does Nuclear Man care about Lacey all of a sudden? Just because he saw her picture on the front of the newspaper? Is he horny now?
If you will not tell me, I will hurt people.
This feels more like you're hurting store windows and fire hydrants than people, but you do you, Nuclear Man.
Stop! Don't do it! The people!
Stealing your dialogue from Superman 2.
No! Don't do it! The people!
Is Nuclear Man able to actually control the strength of each blast? And if that's so, why is he letting up some when he hits people directly? I get a PG movie might not want a lot of mindless bloodshed, but I don't understand why Nuclear Man would care about that.
You win. I'll take you to her.
I'm not even sure how Superman would think Nuclear Man was after Lacey since Nuclear Man has never referred to her by name. Guess Superman could think he's talking about Lois or just doesn't care, but it's still odd he doesn't ask Nuclear Man to clear up who her is. Nuclear Man starts flying through the floors without first learning which floor Superman was taking the elevator to. These both have some bizarre radar abilities to locate where the other one is going, and I really don't understand how Lex could have pulled that off when he was mixing the DNA. Excuse me, but didn't Superman use the elevator? Elevators are far slower, right? Looks like Superman figured out Nuclear Man's weakness somehow and trapped him in this elevator to cut him off from the sunlight. But then, while this other bullshit where he pulls the elevator out of the building like it's a finishing move in Mortal Kombat could have tricked Nuclear Man a million different ways that didn't involve this kind of destruction. I guess when you have the ability to Jupiter ascending anything you destroy, you don't worry about fucking buildings up anymore. Also, if this was Superman's plan all along, why didn't he just lure Nuclear Man into the elevator when they first entered the building? This is straight up superhero malpractice by Superman here, dropping this giant elevator on the moon rather than simply placing it there. He opens up the possibility of the elevator breaking and the sun shining on Nuclear Man. It's made even dumber by the fact that he actually flies down to the surface right after this. It's a lazier action than the actual production of this entire movie. Well, there's absolutely no way the sun can ever shine into the cracks of this elevator because we're on the dark side of the moon and the dark side never becomes the light side ever. Job well done. See you in hell, Nuclear Man. Movie thinks the American flag looks this pristine on the moon after all that time in space. And now we get over 2 minutes of punchy bullshit amongst two beings with the exact same powers, all of which take place on the moon. This phenomenon is also known as Michael Bay's wet dream. Nuclear Man doesn't say hi to Parallax for me when he drives Superman under the surface of the moon. And yes, I know Parallax was buried somewhere else, but let me have my fun.
Tone down our headlines. Lacey, that's all a common man reads.
The Common Man.
What kind of disaster could we possibly help bring about?
Superman 4 is absolutely correct about the journalism business, but I still don't know what the newspaper did to cause Nuclear Man, which is what it's suggesting right now. There's only one small thing, and it's lame. If Superman doesn't read the article criticizing him, he doesn't try to collect all the nukes, and Lex doesn't have a way to create Nuclear Man. That's it. If you were able to predict that scenario, congratulations. You are the creators of this movie. Where is he getting his solar energy? In the ceiling it just flew down from, or in this office? Superman will now force the moon in front of the sun outside of its natural orbit and somehow not cause any other disturbance on the planet other than Nuclear Man losing his powers. And god damn it, that is some bullshit. Superman just created the day after tomorrow and you all fucking know it. Also, I highly doubt Superman has this measured to the point where absolutely zero of the sun's rays are going to hit Metropolis, but then that doesn't even matter because Nuclear Man flies into space after this and is the movie saying just because Superman placed the moon just so that it's blotting out the sun no matter where Nuclear Man goes? Lacey is breathing in space. Superman flies Lacey back into the Earth's orbit without her incinerating in the upper atmosphere. Superman throws the villain into a nuclear power plant and his body supplies power to an entire city somehow. But the most curious thing about this is that it appears to be lighting up a city that didn't need power in the first place. And it's just turning on extra lights. Someone who is asleep is going to be pissed at Superman for this and become the next villain. Also, I'm not really sure why the lid to whatever this glowing nuclear is open. And I'm not sure why the lid knows to close immediately after Nuclear Man falls into it. But none of that compares to the fact that Lacey was f***ing breathing in space.
So I convinced them to lend me the money. I bought up all the outstanding shares. And you, Mr. Warfield, are now a minority shareholder.
Wow, what a fantasy. I'm practically looking for Gollum falling into the fires of Mount Doom during this scene. How the f*** did David Warfield miss out on buying available shares and not already have over 50% of them? And a bank giving Perry the money for a loan to buy newspaper shares? My God, man, I can't figure out what the stupidest thing in this movie is.
This is what I call a newspaper.
That we were able to write articles for and mass produce in the last hour or so.
All you do is tape reactions from my crowd.
Guess I need a tape recorder, huh?
So this works for his ruse to get away and return as Superman, but how does he magically also tape record reactions from the crowd?
I just wish you could all see the Earth the way that I see it. Because when you really look at it, it's just one world.
Technically, that's exactly what it is. So not sure how this would be a revelation to anyone.
This young man's been under a bad influence. Do you think you can help him?
There's no need for the legal system to get involved here. Just take custody of the random 22-year-old boy pretending to be a minor. I guess you can just take a criminal back to his work detail after he escapes instead of just taking him to jail and once again bypassing the legal system.
Just one thing. How did you beat him?
High school physics, Luthor.
This movie has the nerve to talk about high school physics as an answer to anything.
If you're a foul creature was born from the sun, that had to be a source of energy.
It was still a super lucky guess, and it has nothing to do with high school physics, but man, I'm smart, right? The movie ends with what I'm guessing is the exact footage from the ending of Superman 3.
Don't mess with Volcano, my man, because I will go Pompeii on your butt. Meteor
You may run like Maze, but you hit like
Pardon me. I wonder if you could tell me how to get back on the expressway.
F*** your mama. Don't tell me you only read the pictures.
I also read palms. I cook, I swallow swords, I mend my own socks, I never eat garlic or onions. What more can you want of a man?
Jeremy, what do you think we can do about the crisis? He doesn't even know what's going on.
I think we should go back to Iowa.
Anybody wants me, I'll be downtown.
I'll never talk to Mitch and Murray.
I seen a lot of people hating me, and I didn't know what to feel about that, so I guess I didn't like you much, none either.
10, 9.
They're fueling their missiles. We don't have time to f*** around.
Earth and Mars together. The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
I have the power.
that if I can change, and you can change, everybody can change.